Hey everyone, it's Isaya. Welcome, welcome. This is another episode of Isaya's Inspiring Evenings podcast. And this is this is episode three actually, of a series that I do with the amazing Rie Pearson. Hi, Rie.
Hello.
Where we are exploring, relationship red flags. So this is episode three. So if you missed the previous two, you can go and check them out. And it's going to be a 9 episode series where we discuss the early warning signs of unhealthy relationship dynamics, the psychology behind the red flag behaviors, and how maybe we can interrupt those patterns before they escalate into harm. These conversations happen live and are then shared in my podcast and anywhere else where Ree feels like sharing. Before we go into any more of the conversation, let me remind you a little bit who Ree is. So, Rie Pearson lives overlooking the sea and describes herself as being on the edge. A police officer for 27 years, with focus on policy and how the police deal with partner abuse, Rie specialises in domestic abuse, stalking, and safeguarding. Her post-policing career has continued with directorships with several community interest companies, all focused on those specialisms. Rie's book, Be Kind, No Excuses, is a guide for teenagers and parents to raise awareness of the red flag behaviors that are a precursor to abusive behaviors in relationships. Her mission is to flip the discussions on on violence against women and girls and talk about the real problem. The majority of abuse is being perpetrated by men who are violent towards others, women, men, or children. Be Kind, No Excuses is now a community interest company, and Rie has also co-created an event and a company called WOW, Women Only Wellness Ltd, and the company creates safe spaces for women and girls to come together and step into their own power through learning that self-care is not selfish. A woman too close to my heart, obviously. So, episode three, we have given it the title of Core Relationship Truths. And we're going to talk about anything and everything relationship. And I suggest we start with the main relationship in our lives, relationship to me,
Yeah.
to myself.
I thought you were going to say with my cat, the relationship with my cat, my
I
pet.
don't have a cat.
No, me, me neither. I have a dog. Yeah, the relationship we have with ourselves, I think, is absolutely vital. We're talking about core relationships here, and corazon, the Spanish word, corazon, that your heart of you needs to
Mm,
be where you are for your relationship with yourself. And I think a really good question to ask yourself is, if you were your own friend, would you be a good friend?
mm,
So if you're looking at yourself in terms of, if you look at yourself through somebody else's eyes,
mm-hmm,
and then be really truthful. I think that one of the big problems that we have here is um, we're not honest enough. And people who are honest, we're kind of, people look at us and go, oh my God, like she's, we're, we're too in their face. We're too, what is the word I'm looking for, Isaiah? Help me out here. When you're too truthful, other people don't like it.
no, because it's frightening.
So
It's
it's fear.
frightening. Mm, I think it
And
is.
the truth is fearful. Yeah, that's interesting. I never thought about it as
Well,
frightening. But I think it is, yeah.
it's the opposite of people pleasing, right? Because, if I'm not truthful to myself, I'm truthful to you, to the rest of the world, to my cat, and then I betray myself, basically,
Absolutely
every
that.
chance that I'm
Absolutely.
given. And if I don't, well, other people might get, a little frightened or annoyed that I don't basically please them. But short reminder, um, this is the too much woman in me talking. I am not here to please you,
True.
whoever the you is here. I
Mhm.
am not even here to please me. I am here to be me.
Yeah, yeah. And so many people don't get that, and
Mm,
they're not truthful about it.
mm,
So I know somebody, for example, in her 60s, and she's somebody I know personally, has had several long-term relationships, and every relationship she molds herself
mm,
to fit
mhm,
that man. And I'm like, where have you gone? You don't like
mm,
opera. Well, I've known you for years. Why do
mm,
you suddenly like opera? What do you like? He likes opera.
mm.
It doesn't mean you've got to like him. You have to be truthful to yourself. And your
No,
relationship
there's a,
with yourself
you know,
is your foundation.
I think up to an extent, every relationship includes some compromise. I've been with the same guy for 40 something years now. And yes, there is a bit of compromise because basically, we don't agree on everything.
So
And for both peace of minds, we kind of compromise. But not one of us compromises. We compromise.
yes,
And then there's a percentage of that compromise, and then there's a percentage where we don't. I mean, he reads only thriller books, and I hate thriller books. I'm not interested in police books. He reads them by, you know, billions. And so, we have two libraries literally in our
yeah,
house because we're
yeah, we
both
do.
avid readers. We have two different sets of libraries. I read
Yeah,
completely different books. I read fantasy books, and Lord of the Rings is my go-to thing, or stupid
yeah,
romance or historical books. Anyway, so what I mean to say is that we agree that books are important.
yeah,
And I compromise to allow all these black, dark, horrid books into my house.
yeah,
And so does he with my stupid romance. And we watch different TV shows.
we do.
Um,
Isn't that bizarre? Because we're exactly the same. We have books, like books are my go-to, his as well, completely different genres,
yeah.
and TV. I mean, I don't really, I, I like occasionally a bit of tap TV, but because of the way I am, I will watch all of it all at once. So I won't watch I won't watch a TV program and then wait for it to come on next week. I'll wait for it to have been on the TV. And
Mm,
now, because it's the 21st century, hello, we can watch it
yeah.
in a
Yeah.
lump.
No, this
And then I'm
is
like,
not
oh, I'm
good
going to
for my
watch it.
mental health either, but I'm a binge person as well.
Yeah, binging.
Um,
We do that. So he will watch something and he'll watch science fiction and I'm like, well, that's just because you haven't got a really good plot line. You can just make it up because it's science fiction. You can do whatever the hell you want. So that's compromise. I'll go read a book while you go and watch your TV. But
yeah,
yes, you have to be truthful about it, don't you? You don't go, oh, oh God, this is something that popped
compromise
in
is
my
not
head.
sacrifice.
Absolutely. That's a great line.
And if there is no compromise on both sides, then it is sacrifice.
Yeah.
Sacrificing who I am, and so it means, for instance, we live in the middle of nowhere, literally, like there's trees around and that's it, and a couple of pigs, I think, wild pigs, how do you call them, boars, but that's about it. Now, I love living here. I love the trees, the birds, and everything, but every now and then I need movies, theater, museums. So I will get the hell and go into a big town, spend 3 days, and my
Yeah.
husband doesn't need that. He's a hermit. That's fine.
Yeah.
But he would be very unhappy in a town or a city. I'm not.
Yeah.
I so I did compromise with agreeing to live here, not sacrifice because I still love it here. But then I can leave and come back. And obviously, first of all, he's got nothing to say. This is my choice. And second of all, if I did ask him, what do you think? He would say, you're welcome. Enjoy,
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, isn't it? It's about the truth. Because I think if you go into a relationship and you're not being truthful about who you are, it makes life so much more complicated down the line if that relationship
Yeah,
continues.
yeah.
Because then you show yourself and that other person goes, well, who the hell are you? Like
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
said that you loved motorbikes, and
Mm-hmm.
now you're saying you don't. At the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
if you just do it to people please, it
Yeah.
makes life more
Mm-hmm.
complicated.
Yeah.
But also, that's what happens. And I'm not saying people who do that are abusive, but people who are abusive put a mask on
Yeah. That's what I was
and
going to
they
say.
pretend.
The I'm not true to myself is dangerous in a sane and healthy relationship, it's even worse if you're dealing with somebody who has abusive personality
Malicious
or person.
intent. Malicious
Yeah,
intent.
malicious intent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they
Well,
will on purpose pretend to like what you like and pretend to love what you love and be exactly like you. And,
one of the things you need to be really careful about at the beginning, in the honesty thing. I'm terrible. Even as a child, I can't tell lies because I just think, well, the truth's going to come out. I might as well get it over with. So as a
yeah.
kid, I think I was quite annoying. My brothers and sisters would be like, "You just screwed everything." I'm like, well, we're going to get it wrong. So. But if you're starting a relationship with somebody, you don't know if that person is a genuine person or an abuser to be.
Mm,
And when you're dating somebody, it is perfectly natural to tell them if you're learning about each other, you're getting into that
mm,
conversation. Now, with a person who is a genuine person, they will be honest and upfront with you, and that's fine. But you don't know at the beginning because at the
mm,
beginning, the manipulation starts from the very moment you meet. Even these days, not even when you meet them, because you meet them online, so you haven't even really met them.
mhm.
And that whole online stuff is another part of this
Yeah, and
conversation.
they can get information about you before they
But
actually even
that,
meet you.
a person who has malicious intent, I love that term. Malicious intent
Mm,
sounds really good. Um, if that is their motive, they are not interested in you in terms of who you are, what you like, what your hobbies are, blah blah. They are intelligence gathering
yeah. Mm,
because they intelligence gathering so they can keep that in their back pocket and use it down the line. So it's really important to be mindful at the beginning of not giving too much of yourself because you have to tread carefully. Now, I was reading something the other week about, I know this is going to come as completely sideline, okay? The Italian medieval nobility, okay? I was talking about 14th century Italian nobility. And they had this thing. I don't even know where I should have written it down when I read it because I thought, oh, I'm going to use that. They had this culture where the women would have to know a man for 500 days before they became romantically involved with that person because they reckoned that 500 days was enough time to see what that person's values were,
mm,
what they
mhm,
would genuinely like, and etc. and so on. Now, these days we see in the press where women have been murdered by their abuser and they've moved in together after weeks and these women are dead 5 months later. That's
mhm,
not 500 days. And
mm,
so I know people are going to be looking at this, they've been listening, going, read 500 days, are you kidding? No, I'm not. I'm not
mm.
kidding. When
What's the
my
freaking
parents,
hurry?
what's the hurry, right? When my parents were in their 20s and engaged, their engagement was 3 years long.
Mm,
And it was normal back in the 40s, the 50s, in the 60s, maybe the early 60s, to be engaged for years.
mm.
My Auntie Jane was engaged for 17 years. 17 years before they got
What's
married.
the freaking hurry? I mean, if really you are in romantically involved, this is not going any away. The sexual tension might only rise, which is a very nice place to be. Be in desire is a very nice place to be.
Yeah,
The fulfillment of said desire sometimes is very disappointing. But the desire phase, is a very nice place to stay. So, what's the hurry in moving in with somebody else? First of all, I've been married for 40 something years, and I'm going to be very, very honest. If asked, I would move out, stay married, but move out so that
yeah,
we could have, our lives separately and just meet
yeah.
for some time that we like.
No,
So
yeah.
moving in together is really very low on my list of priorities nowadays, and I think that it should have been very. similar when I was younger.
Yeah.
We actually took quite a while to move in together, um, because I was okay with my own little space and my own little cat. At
Yeah.
the time, I had a
I,
cat.
I yeah. Well, mine was a little bit more complicated because I've been married for 10 years now. David is my third husband. And as I matured and learned, my band of acceptability in terms of behavior has become narrower and narrower, narrower. So he now gets about this much give in a relationship because when we met, I was in my 40s. I had three children as a single parent, and I was very careful about introducing him
Yeah,
into our lives because, as far as I was concerned, any man who would come into my life would be in the lives of my children,
yeah,
and
of
that would be
course.
his privilege.
Hmm.
And I had to make sure that he understood that.
Mm.
So we dated for 3 years. Then we all moved to a house together because I didn't want him moving into our home.
Hmm.
I wanted it to be, I didn't want
Yeah.
it to be
Hmm.
him moving into the kids' house. It had to be a house. So we then and then we all lived together for 3 years,
Mm.
by which time my eldest went to uni. And then we got married after six
Mm.
years. And even then, I'll be absolutely honest, and he knows this, on the day, I was still like, really? Will I?
What are
Am
your
I
books
doing
going to come into my house?
am I doing
Your science fiction
it?
books.
With your bloody massive television and your science fiction books. But I honestly would be happy if we had separate houses because we're buying a house
Mm.
right now.
Mhm.
And we've had the conversation, should we buy a flat there and a flat there?
Mm.
We're not gonna because this house is fabulous and it's got a lovely garden, but whatever. But
Good for you.
it's all about, being in your own space and being comfortable in your own space and being comfortable with, I mean, I was away on holiday with my sister, totally fine with that.
Yeah, I think
You
that
know,
the
you,
you mentioned something about one of the red flag. I don't remember which conversation. One of the red flags being when somebody says to you, "I can't live without you,"
mm,
and that being massive red flagish. What the fuck?
I think
And I
that's really
think that
scary.
the first thing is, you know, I have to be able to want to be living with myself and to be
Yeah,
okay with to live with myself. And this is the one person I cannot live without, me. Um, and I have to learn if I don't know how to live by myself for a while. I mean, we're not in the 14th century, or in France, where you got
yeah.
married at 14 and you got
We're not
parachuted in somebody
women
else's
are not
house.
women are not possessions anymore.
Hmm.
We have our own integrity. We don't belong to our fathers. We don't belong to our husbands, which is what happened historically. One of the things that really winds me up is when um, a woman walks down the aisle and is given away by her dad at a
Mm.
wedding. I hate that.
Mm, me
I think,
too. Mm.
ah, that,
But there's
I
there's
mean,
there's
each their
something
own and that's their
about
choice.
learning as young as possible and teaching, if you're the parent, um, that self-respect and self-acceptance and self-authenticity and basically being with me is okay,
Yeah,
and being by myself is okay. And then the other person, if there is another person, is just added value to
sure.
my
Yeah.
life.
I absolutely agree. And I think and I know this is really hard when you're a teenager because you're still working through that process.
Of
Much
course,
easier
of
now
course.
that we've been through all that shit.
Mm.
But if you can teach your children that they are the most important person in their lives, and that
Hmm.
is not ego,
No,
that is essential safeguarding,
no, that's
you
yeah,
know.
and self-confidence, and and
Yeah,
and basically, um, shit happens. People die. One of my besties, her husband died suddenly. She was 57 or 56, and she was like, "Can I?" She didn't have any children. They didn't have any children. They couldn't. They wanted, and then they couldn't anyway. And she was like, "Can I even live by myself?"
Mm.
And it took her a while to realize that actually, yeah, she can.
Yeah.
Despite the grief and everything, I'm not diminishing. They had a lovely relationship, but really, truthfully, deep down, yeah, she can live by herself. And
Yeah.
it's better if you know that without anybody dying. Nobody needs to die to teach you that, or for you to teach that to your children.
There's a
And
couple of things in that. There's a novel by a lady called Joanna Trollope, and it's called The Rector's Wife. I think it was in the 70s, 80s. And there's a line in there where the rector's wife, they moved, he's got a church in this village in the rural England somewhere, and obviously everybody sees her, she's the rector's wife, that's her role. And she says in the book, I am not the oars to his boat, I am a different boat.
mhm,
And I think I must have been about 16 when I read that.
yeah.
And I was like,
And
yes, of
reversely, he
course.
is not the oars to my boat either.
Exactly. Exactly.
I'm a whole different boat altogether.
You're a
Yeah,
whole
and we
different
can go
boat.
in the same
And
direction. We can
uh-huh.
go
I
in,
mean, and
yeah,
sometimes you're fighting each other with the oars, aren't you? Let's be right and
yeah.
going round in circles. And it's like, oh my God, I'm
And
just got to get
sometimes
out
one
of
of us
here.
wants to stop and the other keeps going, and then the other
Yeah,
will
yeah,
meet you. And,
yeah.
yeah, but
And my
absolutely.
husband will say to me, will I see you this week?
Yeah, I know the feeling. Did you,
So
mine is
absolutely.
did you write your planning on we have a huge calendar where we write everything because it's like
Yeah,
we share cars. So it's like, who's taking the car? Am I allowed the car this week or is there no
yeah,
chance for me at all?
yeah.
Basically, because we
But
have
you have to be
one,
truthful to yourself, and the shared calendar is really helpful.
yeah,
But the other thing you were saying about your friend, and her husband sadly dying, um, in summer, and I have seen this, and I mean, I've spoken to many, many people
of course.
around my previous career, and isolation is another red flag. So if this person who is abusing you, and it's like under the radar stuff at the beginning, isn't it? They want you to not have friends. They want you to not have
Mm.
family. Now, I'm not saying that that happened to your friend. It was
No,
obviously
no,
you're her
it
friend,
didn't.
and that did
Yeah,
not happen. But I have spoken to
yeah. No,
many elderly
that. Yeah.
women
Mm,
whose husbands have passed, and they literally have nobody.
mm.
And I think, well, that is not okay. And for me, I can never emphasize enough the importance of feminine connection.
Yeah, I was going to go on a
To
tangent
keep
and
each other
say
fresh.
whether you are in what you consider an abusive relationship or not, please cultivate your girlfriends because
Totally.
mostly, even if you're not in any kind of abuse situation, men die younger. So
Yeah.
basically, you're going to end up with your
Particular.
girlfriends anyway. So
Yeah. And you have to have that. And I think it's important for men to have friends as well,
yeah, of course, but
because
that's their
it
own issue.
can become all encompassing. Um,
Yeah.
their marriage can be, they go to work, they come home, they kids, wife, partner, whatever, go to bed, get up, go to work. And, my husband's an introvert. He's a situational extrovert, but he's very introverted. And I have to say, you're going to, do this, and cultivate those relationships with other people that aren't me, because I don't want the entire responsibility
Yeah.
of his
That's what,
his
and we come back to the I
yeah,
can't live without you. That would freak me out if somebody
yeah,
were
yeah,
to say I can't live without you. What do you
yeah,
mean? I I've been a mother now, and I know what somebody who cannot live without me means. That's usually less
absolutely.
than 65 centimeters.
It's big.
And it needs a breast, and that's all right. I will
Yeah,
accept that responsibility of
that one's okay.
this person cannot live without me.
Yeah,
Yeah, indeed. But
that's
that's
good.
about it. And for the rest, I will not be responsible for anybody else's life. And if you can't live without me, I suggest you go and learn how to, and
Yeah,
then come back if
yeah,
you
and
want me to be in your life.
you get that person who is who has this all-encompassing obsession, like I can't live without you, and then something happens and that relationship ends, and then they're moved on to somebody else and they can't live without that person either. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like there's an Alanis Morissette song, um, and she's saying, like, he said, I love you till you die, and I love you till I die, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
People will know which one I'm talking about. And she says, but I'm still alive, and he's moved on
Mm-hmm.
to somebody else. But in that relationship, it was all full on. It was like, I will be with you forever, blah blah. There's nobody else in my life.
Yeah,
And
and
then
this
suddenly that
is
ends, and then he's moved on to
the
somebody
trap,
else
I
to
think, is
talk.
that at the beginning, this might sound like very ego satisfactory. Somebody says, "Oh, I can't live without you," aka you're magic, you're mysterious, blah blah blah. That's why we fall for things like that. But
Yeah.
very, very
So
shortly after that becomes hell on earth to be
it's
responsible
horrendous.
for somebody.
Yeah. And also that, I've never met a woman like you before. That's not a compliment. That is
Mm,
a red flag. I'm damn sure you've never met a woman like me before. But, when it's not a compliment. I don't know how to
mm.
articulate this properly, but
Now,
if
for me,
somebody is
the
just
idea there is
tickling
again
you,
is why are you comparing me to anyone else?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
If you want to tell me
and
that you love me, what tell me about me, not about others who are different
I
than
don't,
me.
yeah, I've never met a woman like you before. Don't you?
Mhm. What I'm not
Yeah,
interested in
yeah.
who you met before. And besides, you should not be interested in who I met before either. Right?
There's also that.
Yeah.
There's
I have a
also that,
past.
isn't there?
I'm all
Yeah, yeah,
right. And
yeah.
um,
Talking about that as well. Talking about they call it body count, don't they? And this whole how many people have you been with? How many people have you slept with? Actually, up until the moment that you meet the person that you're meeting right now, if that's what happened in the past is none of their business.
no.
And number is it's just a number, and it's irrelevant to them. It might be relevant to you,
Mm,
but it's irrelevant to them. And if they're asking you that question, bin, go in the bin. Like, no. And this whole construct about virginity is a
mm.
concept as well. It's not real.
Patriarchy, right?
Patriarchy. And also, um I mean, I understand that you have to be careful when it comes to sex and intimacy,
Mm,
because germs,
yeah, of course. Mhm,
any bacteria, do you know what I
mhm.
mean? That's why you have to be careful. You don't want to be catching anything. But
That's also
actually,
a reason for not rushing into intimacy, right?
totally, because who they've had sex with in the past, the number of those people is irrelevant. But actually, they might have dipped it into somebody who's got a
Mhm,
disease, and you don't want to be
mm,
getting that disease. And that's
mm,
one of the reasons why you need to protect yourself.
mm.
But if they're asking for body count because of fear of comparison, that's a
Mm.
red flag. Because that's why the whole she's got to be a virgin. That's why they want you married off young, when in some countries, a child,
Mhm.
because they want to have that control and they want to have that. Um, so nobody compares my willy with somebody else's willy. Well, actually,
Mm.
what we should talk about, gentlemen, is whether you can breathe through your ears, because that's far more important.
Yeah, and I think that the immediate stress that a question like that, if I put myself, I'm 19, somebody asks me that kind of question, it's stressful because why do I have to answer that? What is he going to do with that information? Is he going to
Yeah,
be to find it nice or not nice, or is he going to be judging me? Blah blah blah. So from the instant the question is asked, it increases my level of stress, which
yeah,
is not what a relationship, a love or romantic relationship should be about.
yeah. And going back to that, what we said earlier about, instead of asking you information to learn about you and know you better, it's intelligence gathering. So they'll
Hmm.
use they'll use that intelligence gathering. Oh, well, she's a slut.
And the thing is, I remember the early stages of all my relationships. For a lot of the time, we wanted to give information to the other person. not asking information from the other. It's a very different
Yeah.
position, isn't it? I
It
want to
is.
share who I am. So up
Yeah.
to an extent, and I hear you about the danger of oversharing, but still, I remember being 19 and wanting to share who I was so that the other person could know me better,
Yeah.
right? I share, not I ask questions or I answer your
Yeah.
questions, because this is
Yeah.
intelligence gathering.
Yeah.
The mere idea of asking somebody who you've just met about everything on their life for me was
Yeah.
like is like, I don't do it with you. I mean, I
Yeah.
we don't do it with our friends. Oh, and
Yeah.
and how many times did you go to Thailand? Why? No, you're going to volunteer at some point and tell me about your life, or you're not. But if we,
Yeah.
if the
But
friendship
also
progresses far enough.
the somebody who is going to abuse will create a false sense of intimacy. They will tell you things about themselves and they'll say, "Oh, I've never said this to anybody before."
Mm,
So they'll tell you things, and they may not even be true,
yeah.
but it's the hook. It's to bring so they can reel you in. They've probably overshared. You don't know if it's true or not. And
Mm,
then they're reeling you in because you are reciprocating that
mm,
intelligence gathering.
mm.
Quite
Yeah, for
scary.
me, it's about really remembering that not all relationships are going to go into shit. But at the same time, there are so many. And so, listen, watch, and trust yourself first. Be
Yeah.
respectful of yourself. If if I don't respect my gut feeling or my fear or who I am, and I start lying about myself to make myself more pretty to his eyes, then that's self-disrespect. Do you say that?
I think
I just
and
made
Yeah.
that up. and,
Yeah.
and
If
that,
you're compromising, if you're compromising your own integrity,
yeah, mm,
then no.
to
Be yourself,
become
because
more
it's only,
pleasing.
what's really important for me is like teenage girls and teenage boys too. Um, it's such a going through those teenage years. I would not go through that again for a solid gold egg. Honestly, you could not pay me enough money to go back to being 13 and going back through that again. I would not do that. And I remember how hard it is. I remember how self-conscious I felt
Mm, yeah.
at 14, always wearing long trousers and long sleeves. And it was the height of summer, but I
Mm,
was very self-conscious because of all the changes that are going on. And it is really difficult. But as parents, I think we have to build and help build the self-confidence in our children, the self-awareness, the self-belief, the yes, I am good enough. Because
hmm
teenagers, especially now with social media, I mean, social media, nightmare, um, comparison thing, and this whole you have to have a certain look for girls. You have to be a certain way. And I find that horrific. You know, be yourself because there is only you. You are uniquely you. I mean, I've got three sisters, we've got interchangeable heads. My sister could come and sit here, you probably wouldn't notice the difference. You would just have a conversation with her, not know it wasn't me. We look exactly the same, but we're different.
Of course you are.
And and the difference is the goodness in it, isn't it?
Mm,
The difference in you as a person is the goodness in you.
of
That is
course.
the essence of you. It teaches your children to appreciate their essence. It
Mm,
teaches your children how to think, not what to think.
yeah. And I think that relationship with ourselves can be worked on daily, kind of, and being okay with who you are, with small actions. I remember um, for many, many years, I used to pass a mirror and frown at myself, literally, like, such ugly
Oh.
face. It was kind of a reflex, it was permanent. And I had to one day, after years of therapy, deciding, let me stop. I'm not going to smile at myself, but I'm going to stop frowning at myself and literally thinking ugly cow every time I cross a mirror.
Oh, God.
And I really managed to stop the behavior, and very slowly I started to look at the person in the mirror, not thinking ugly cow, not thinking anything, basically. And we are now 25 years after that. And now usually I smile at myself and I think, hey, yeah, you look quite all right today, or not, if I, if my hair is dirty or whatever. But, and I think it has become, so what I want to say is it's learnable. We can teach ourselves. We can, of course, teach our children or our teenagers because they're young enough. But even as a grown up, we can unlearn disrespect, self-disrespect.
Self-disrespect, yeah,
We can
absolutely.
we can relearn to accept ourselves, to respect ourselves, to trust our gut, to but it's a journey, and it is, it's a slow thing for me, and it's tiny steps, but it's doable. And it is really about one fine day deciding I am done betraying myself every other step of the way. I am done being an asshole to myself
Yeah.
so
Uh,
as to please everyone else,
mhm.
including that abuser in my life.
Yeah, yeah. I love
Yeah.
that. I'm done being an arsehole to myself. That's going into the newsletter as your top tip for the Women Only Wellness Gathering. I am done being an arsehole to myself. The
Yeah,
end.
I think it's,
I love that.
and the same thing that we can do this, I'm guessing you would advise to do to other people. So how, because that's also teaching our children, if we have them, how do I respect other people? So not dismissing their opinions, not,
Yeah.
I remember with my kids, uh, asking for their opinions on things that concern them, like not choosing for them everything all the time,
I think
just
I think we're
asking.
I think we're similar in terms of our parenting style because I always wanted to because when you I remember as a child feeling very frustrated. I remember having being disempowered. I remember having no control over things.
Mm,
And as a parent myself, as we talked earlier, we would give the child a choice. Do you want apple or do you want a pear?
mm,
Not give them overly too much to choose, but empower them in two choices when they're very small, and then it gets bigger and empower.
mm.
And I guess between the two of us, our kids, I mean, they're all still alive.
Yeah.
They're grown
For me,
ups and they're
it
all
also
still
goes the
alive.
other way. It makes me think of something else because I remember my kids, I don't remember which one of them, saying, I want this, I want that all the time. One specific, and I was like, yeah, I want a pool in the garden, but we don't have the money for it. We don't have the money for it. So that's also a reality check thing,
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
think that's also kind of showing respect. Like, I hate it when people say, oh, I can't talk about money to my kids. Why not?
why? Why
Why
not?
not? Either there is money enough for what you want or there isn't. Maybe there is money enough for what you want, but I'm still not going to buy it because I'm the parent
Yeah,
and I disagree with, this or that.
yeah,
But it's, this thing that we also not present ourselves as our true self to our children. This is a really bad parenting as far as preventing them being entering a relationship with an abuser later.
yeah,
If that makes
absolutely.
sense.
Hmm.
I don't know if you would
Yeah.
agree with that, but for me, it was really.
It's again for me. The essence of it is be honest, be truthful, be respectful. If you live a life, if you live in a family where deception is normal,
Mm,
that
mm,
is your
mm,
normal,
mm,
and
mm,
your normal will then procreate into
yeah,
other
yeah,
families where
mm,
deception is
mm,
normal,
yeah,
and that is imposing your
mm,
normal on other people, isn't it? You're programming your kids to think that deception is the norm,
that
and they'll
this
meet
is normal.
somebody
Yeah.
where for me, honesty is the norm.
Mm,
So if somebody does or says something, and then I find out down the line that that was not
mm,
actually truthful, that is the end of it
mm,
for me.
mm,
My brain cannot process
mm.
a continued
Yeah.
relationship with that person
Yeah.
at all. I'd be like, why would I want to be with that person?
Mm-hmm,
That
mm.
person isn't even the person that I thought they were, so I'm not even
Which
going to
person
miss
are we
them.
talking about
They
anyway?
don't even exist.
Yeah. Mm-hmm,
So when you with that person who's wearing that mask in the first 500 days of your relationship or
Hmm.
whatever.
Hmm.
And that mask comes off, and then you see the bad side of that person. The real person is the bad person. So don't miss the person who had the mask on, because it doesn't
Hmm.
exist.
They didn't exist. Yeah. Mm. I have another one that I want to ask is about, because this was very, very strong in my family. It's the idea that you have to guess what's in my mind, otherwise you're a bad person. So instead of telling you I want an apple, I'm suggesting that you should know by now, if you really loved me, if you really
You,
knew me, you
yeah,
would know
true.
that I want an apple. If you don't give me the apple, then you're a mean person. You don't love me. I can
Yeah,
blame you for that.
yeah,
For
yeah.
me,
I've
that
done
was
with it.
that was very, very strong. With my grandmother was like that, and I was like, how would I, why?
Yeah,
Why would I know what's in your head? And so I made it a point in my life to just say what's in my head to other people.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's hard for
Not
other
all the
people
time and everything,
sometimes,
but I
isn't it?
mean, if it
No
concerns
choice.
them, so that basically, again, it's about truth and honesty, but in a slightly different way.
Yeah. But I mean, if you say to somebody, I've got a story actually, this is coming in my head. I don't
Mhm.
know if I've told you about paella.
I don't remember.
Right, paella. Right, okay. I was dating this guy years ago, and you know how everybody's got a signature dish, and when you invite people around for dinner, you make this particular dish because
Hmm.
you know you
Hmm.
do it well. It's your signature dish. His is
Hmm.
paella. So I bought him a paella pan. I went to a really nice department store in Newcastle, and I got this paella pan. It was massive, right? I don't like paella. Doesn't matter. I don't like it. He loves it. I bought him the pan. A couple of weeks later, I went to his for dinner, and he made paella. And I was like, well, I don't like it, but I'm not going to say anything because I bought the pan. He's using the gift that I bought for him. He obviously thinks it's a good idea. So I ate it, right? A couple of weeks later, go back to his place for dinner. Same thing, right?
Mm.
Same meal. I'm like, right, okay. I facilitated this. This is my fault. I
Mm.
bought the pan.
Yeah.
Didn't say anything. Third week, like
Mm.
2 weeks later, I go to his. It was because my kids. It was a Wednesday. It was always a Wednesday, and my kids were with their granny. And third time, right? And he made it again. Made it
Okay.
again. And I said to him, hmm, I don't like paella. And he said, but you've never said anything before.
Mm.
And I said, well, I'm fucking saying it now.
Mm.
And it's like that, isn't it? Like I expected him to know. He didn't know. I bought the
Mm.
pan.
Mm.
But then
Hmm. Yeah.
when I did
Hmm.
tell him, he was like, but you didn't say anything. I'm like, fair enough. You're not psychic,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So when you're with somebody and they do something, so if I had gone back to his house and he'd made paella for the fourth time, that would have been the end of the relationship because I
Yeah.
would
Hmm.
not I would not be able to do that. So if somebody says to you, and you get this like the prodigal son thing in the Bible, isn't it? They say something to you, but if they've already told you and they have to tell you over and over and over again, that's not okay. You know, you
Yeah.
should just have
Hmm.
to tell somebody one time, and
Hmm.
then, for example, putting the bins out tends to be a big thing in conversations about relationships. Who's putting the bin out? There's no way that I am putting the bin out, right? It means I have to lift the garage door, which is really heavy, drag a heavy bin, which invariably has many wine bottles in the caddy on the top for recycling. I am not doing that. My husband is doing that, right? Okay. He, I will hoover the bedroom. He will do the bin. That's the deal. So if he would repeatedly not put the bin out, I would divorce him
Yeah, I think so.
because
And,
the
mm,
bin is too heavy for me. It is harder
no,
for
and
me to do
it
that
seems that you
job.
have found an agreement.
We've
You
found
do
an
the
agreement. Yeah,
vacuuming, he does the bin. We have
yeah,
an
yeah.
agreement like this. He
We have
does the
a
washing up, I
compromise.
do the
A
laundry.
compromise. Yes. So, and that's fine, isn't it? Doesn't mean that, oh God, I've always got to do the bin. Yes, you've always got to do the
Mhm.
bin, but I've always got to do the laundry.
No,
But that's the
and it
deal.
still doesn't mean that I have to remind my husband to do the bin. I said it once.
And that is the
Sometimes
point.
I'm like, hey, you haven't done the bin and it's tonight. just because he forgot. That's all right. He's allowed to forget, but not to ignore the thing.
Not to ignore it, and not to say that they're going to do something and then not do it. And worse, not to say they're going to do the thing, but do it badly.
Do it badly so that you do it. You have to do
So
it.
that you do.
Yeah, I'm laughing, but I shouldn't be laughing because this is, yeah,
It's
so
bad,
many.
isn't it? You couldn't get that because that's
Well, the thing
called
is
weaponized
really,
incompetence.
really that we go back to the core relationships truth, which is if you are not yourself, if you don't tell your truth, if you don't hold the other accountable to be himself and tell his truth, and consider that whatever is not said does not exist. For me, that was that, you don't say it, it doesn't exist. I'm no divine interventionist that I know from your, just tell me.
Yeah,
And if we have a disagreement, then we have to discuss it. But that's it. There is no magic happening unless both of us are truthful and respectful of what we need and what we can provide.
I agree, 100%. Your core is the truth, isn't it?
Yeah. And the first part, which for me was part of the most difficult thing, was accepting it myself, let alone, telling it out loud to somebody else.
Yeah.
But again, so that people do not completely lose hope, this can happen
Doesn't
at
life
any age.
doesn't life become easier when you're truthful to yourself?
Oh, it's so much easier.
I think so because I
So
can
much
sleep
easier.
better. I don't lie to myself. I don't lie to anybody, but
Yeah,
I
and
especially don't lie to myself. And sometimes the truth can be hurtful. I'm like, really? Jesus, look at the size of you. You need to lose some weight because you're getting pains in your knees. I'm 60. Your knees hurting. Lose a few pounds, walk some more. Be truthful to yourself with the positive side and the negative side, because otherwise it just gets so confusing.
for me, the thing is it's confusing and it's exhausting because it
Mm,
keeps me in two places at once. Who I know I am and who I have to pretend I am.
good
And I
for
studied
them.
as an actress, so I'm very good at pretending I'm somebody else. I was a professional actress. I was paid to do that for a while, and that maybe helped me actually a lot because I was then able to kind of really separate the persona, the character, from me. And I highly
Yeah,
advise theater if you want to play lying people, but otherwise in your real life, don't. Don't. It's
yeah,
exhausting. And then you
yeah,
don't remember what you said to who, and the whole thing becomes,
yeah.
it's so much simpler. And people who
And
don't like me, well, there's 7 billion people on the planet, and some of those are not going to like me.
and some of
Tough
them are not
luck.
you.
Yeah. Mm, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm. So
brilliant.
yeah, be yourself, and that will also be, I think that we've kind of put the pin in that. It will also be a repellent for people who intend to abuse you, because if you are not ready to lie, to compromise, to be somebody else than you are, you're less likely to fall into how do you say that? People with maleficent, what do you say?
Malicious intent.
Malicious intent, sorry.
Malicious intent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, yeah. I think this is a wrap for this episode.
brilliant.
So,
Thank you.
unless you have anything else that you want to add
No,
on
I'm
that.
good.
And next time we will talk about something else that I don't remember exactly right now, but we will. Thank you very much, Ree. Thank you very much, all of you, for listening to us.
Thank
And we
you.
will talk to you soon. Bye for now. Bye.